Welcome back. So you walk into your new home and you find out that the fridge is missing. What do? Why did this happen? I thought that this came with the house, says the buyer. Says the agent. We thought it came with the house too. This beautiful, gorgeous, high-end refrigerator, gone. How does that happen? Also, you were looking at a chandelier that was in the dining room. Gorgeous. This was why you bought the house. It's gone also. It's been replaced with a bare little sad bulb. So what do? How does this happen? We're going to go through today what comes with the house, what doesn't come with the house, to see exactly what you get and what you don't get. And this is super important. And as we go through this, I'm going to tell you if there's things that you want, there are ways that you can ask for it, but everything that is not attached to the house has to be negotiated. So let's go. This is the nightmare of an empty house. This is not just a little campfire story. This stuff happens all the time. Believe me. You spend months searching. You looked at the pictures. You're picturing yourself there. You're surrounded by all these beautiful things that make the place look really nice. And your expectations become the same expectations. So on moving day, when reality really hits, and those custom velvet curtains that you wanted are gone. You have naked windows now. The sleek wall-mounted TV that you thought was going to be there, gone, with the bracket and a hole in the wall. And it's just this clumsy mess that you're walking into. And I got to tell you, this is more than a letdown. I mean, it's a direct hit to your wallet. Think about it. A new high-end fridge can set you back thousands. I mean, if it's a Sub-Zero, it could be $20,000 to replace that. But I have gone through this situation before. I've seen it before, and you need to have somebody on your side that understands everything about the contract, because this is where it comes down to the nuts and bolts of what comes with the house and what doesn't come with the house. So that when you get to that closing table and you're doing that final walkthrough and then you're taking the possession and taking those keys, you know exactly what you're walking into. So let's start with the rule of thumb. All right. This is what is really a fixture. Okay. Let's take a house, okay? And let's flip it upside down. Let's shake it. And whatever comes out is not yours. It's not attached to the house. So if there's a nice swimming pool and there's flower pots around the pool, furniture around the pool, that's not yours. The pool equipment is yours. The pool equipment that's cleaning the pool inside the pool, that's yours. If there is a storage unit in the backyard that is just like one of those Rubbermaid storage units that's not on a foundation or any sort of attached deal, you need to ask for that. Otherwise, the seller may take it. So basically what we're talking about is anything that's nailed down, screwed down. There's pipes, bolts, cement. That the idea of removing any of this stuff would actually cause more damage. Your dishwasher, your oven, there's hardwired light fixtures. And let me tell you something, back on the oven, in the contract in Texas, you got to have an oven. It's specifically stated in there. Built-in shelves, bathroom mirrors. I've seen bathroom mirrors taken down that are bolted to the wall. So, even landscaping, I've seen people take trees and shrubs and they've had prized rose bushes. Well, they didn't say, hey, we're going to take those rose bushes. You can't do it. Those are considered fixtures. So what we're talking here is the difference between fixtures and personal property. So anything that's not a fixture would be pretty much considered personal property. So the stuff that's not nailed down, these are what the seller has and what they are going to take with them. That includes area rugs, all the furniture, pictures, flower pots outside, anything that's not nailed down, they should be taking. Freestanding lamps. I know that sounds dumb, but it's true. Now, In Texas, washers and dryers and refrigerators are not part of the contract unless they are attached. So you have a lot of refrigerators in the higher end homes that are built into the cabinetry. They actually have cabinetry on the front of the refrigerator doors. And I haven't seen too many washers and dryer situation where those are actually mounted in. Those are a little bit more difficult. But you can always negotiate and you can always ask for those items. But back to the Sub-Zero example, if that's there, it's got to stay there. Period. End of conversation. Same with the microwave. If a microwave is mounted in there, it's got to stay. If it's sitting on the counter, it's not yours. So that should give you kind of an idea, a little bit of what we're talking about between fixtures and what stays and what sales. You know, these are pretty much the gray areas. This is where we start getting into the gray areas. And what are the biggest things that people fight about? And these are things that are kind of a blur between a fixture and personal property. So the number one thing is the refrigerator. Is it fixed or is it personal property? Well, if you want it as a buyer, buying a house in Flower Mound or anywhere else in Texas, ask for it. There is what's called a non-realty addendum. I use it all the time with all of my buyers. And if there's something specific that they want, ask for it. So if it's a stainless steel refrigerator that's in the kitchen, you say stainless steel refrigerator in the kitchen. If there's a refrigerator in the garage and you want that, let's say it's a white one, I want white refrigerator located in the garage. Doesn't mean that you're going to get it, but it lets the seller know that that's something that you desire, and it can be a point of negotiation. You know, I know that can be confusing, but that, again, if it's part of the cabinetry, it's attached. Washer and dryer, this is pretty much just like and again, this is kind of a gray area, but this is part of the personal property issue. Now, I'm going to back up for just a second. If you are going into a townhome situation or a condominium situation, which we don't really have any condominiums in Flower Mound, some, but more so of a townhome situation, it's likely, but don't assume that you're going to get the refrigerator and the washer and dryer. Sometimes they already come with it, but ask for it. Just put it in the addendum. You know, just because the washer and dryer are plugged in and hooked up to the water hoses and the electrical, it does not mean that they are necessarily attached items. I know that's a gray area. I know it's confusing. And if you do want the washer and dryer, and if you do want the same refrigerator, you should try to put the model number if it's a concern, especially if it's a high-end washer and dryer. I put the model number and say, this is an LG, blah, 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 front load, top load, whatever it is. Put it into the offer. Make it the non-realty addendum. Write that down, please, so that if I'm not helping you, you can talk to your agent about a non-realty addendum. And you can negotiate $0 or $1 for everything. Now, this is the modern classic, and it's actually been written into the contract. TVs and wall mounts. TVs are personal property, end of story. We're not going to really get into it. But the mounts that are mounted to the wall stay. And if they don't, the seller needs to come back and put it back in or give you some sort of compensation for it. That metal bracket is bolted into the wall, and if you take that thing out, there's holes everywhere. They're not that expensive. Leave the one that's there. If you give them some cruddy one, you replace it with a cruddy one, now you're going to have extra holes, and you're often left with this awkward little metal claw. But you know, just make sure that whether you're a seller, you leave the TV mount. Whether you're a buyer, you get the TV mount. Okay? That's pretty simple. And finally, window coverings. Window coverings are such a gray area, and I want to step back just for a second, because when you're working with a realtor and on the MLS, there is a section on the front cover of the MLS that says exclusions. If a seller really wants to keep something, they can exclude that from the sale. For example, the refrigerator, the washer and dryer, the chandelier, window coverings, because window coverings are very specific to the height, right, and to the width of the window. And, why a seller wants to take them if they don't have the same dimensions, I don't know. But they might be very expensive, they might be tailor-made, and they want to keep them for whatever reason. So the general rule is that, like, custom blinds, shades, and shutters that are screwed in to the window, they're going to stay, period. That's end of conversation. Are the curtain rods going to stay? Kind of a gray area as well. If you really want to get down about it, then, again, put it in the contract. And that's personal property. I mean, curtains and rods are personal property, and they'll likely go with the seller. What about the curtain rods themselves? Well, if they're screwed into the wall, they're technically fixtures. So you kind of see where the pattern here, you can't really rely on assumptions. The clearer and simpler you can be in a contract situation as a buyer, the easier it is for the seller to understand. Nobody's a mind reader, not even your buyer's agent, okay? And I have come into situations before where buyers are like, well, I thought the washer and dryer were coming out. I said, well, I told you from day one when we started looking at homes that washer and dryers are not included with the home. Little panic might set in because that's an extra expense. So how do you protect yourself from walking into an empty house? Well, again, non-realty addendum. It's part of the purchase agreement. It's extra for you, and the more specific you and your agent can get, that overrides any assumption. Do not make any handshake deals because they mean nothing. And, everything is negotiable. If you want something, it must be spelled out, and it's got to be in detail. Now, if you want to buy furniture and that carpet and that lamp and some of the other stuff, that needs to be done separate outside the contract. Because here's the deal. Especially if you're getting a loan and the title company doesn't want to see this either. If you want to buy furniture and you want to buy rugs and all that, mortgage company's not going to give you any money for that deal, right? Well, if you don't know it, I'm telling you now, that's not going to be part of any deal. So don't do it. But you can do a separate purchase agreement. It can be paid for at closing. I did that. I've done that myself on a couple of deals. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I wrote a separate check for it. But again, going back, this is just super, super important. Don't just write refrigerator, because they could have 2 or 3 refrigerators and they don't know. And that includes those little bar wine refrigerators. Just make sure that you say, okay, this is a stainless steel Samsung French door model XYZ, and it's currently in the kitchen, and take a picture yourself, because a lot of times those pictures from realtors get pulled down after the property closes. And again, if you can stay out of the gray area, that would be great. Something new that's kind of been happening is like little gadgets like the video doorbells, like the Ring system, playground sets, even a cool light fixture or something. Just make sure that if there's any doubt, first of all, have your agent talk to them about it. Second of all, put it in writing. Put it in writing. I can't tell you how many people just go, oh, yeah, we'll leave it. No, don't. One spouse says, yeah, we'll leave it. The other spouse says, no, we're taking it. It's ours. And we're not giving them anything. Just make sure that you kind of go over every detail before you present that offer. I mean, I hope this is making sense, because when you're making a smart move, especially into Flower Mound, there's a lot of specialty chandeliers, there's a lot of specialty refrigerators, appliances and stuff that you may want. but you need to double check and make sure that they're going to convey. One other thing that I was thinking of, on these outdoor kitchens, a lot of people have those eggs, right? And they're not normally attached, so that could go. Now, the grill that's attached into the outdoor kitchen stays, okay? But, this channel is all about giving you straight talk. I'm trying to help you, give you some insider knowledge so that when you're getting into these situations, when you're buying a house, that the more that you're armed and ready, and you're working together with your agent as a team to make this thing work, this can be an amazing milestone for you. But it can go sour super fast, and it can be for something that is super avoidable, So, when in doubt, write it out. Remember that, when in doubt, write it out. I didn't come up with that. Your contract's the only thing that matters, and being specific and putting everything in writing can make sure from the moment you get those keys, your new house feels like a new house and there's no nasty surprises. So what's the most important thing that you learned about saying is, what I ask you, and comment below. What do you think is the most important thing you've learned that would stay with the house? And is there an item that you would think that you would have to fight for? Please share your story in the comments below. Subscribe. And my name is Chris Hooper Realty. We'll see you next time.